Hello and welcome back to the Reapers. Today we're in the F-14B Tomcat and we're going to be looking at using air-to-ground ordnance or setting up air-to-ground ordnance through the AI Jester interface. So first of all, the scope of this video, this is not a video about how to use that ordnance. I've already got separate detailed videos showing how to use unguided air-to-ground ordnance and rockets and guns and the lantern pod and the GBUs. This is just showing the interface between us and Jester if we didn't have access to a human Rio. So we're going to press A to get Jester up, A again to get to the main menu, air to ground with our head tracker and press A. And here are all of our sub menus. First of all, we can select the ordnance that's on our aircraft. So we're going to go there. Now it just so happens we've got 2 times GBU 16s and 8 times Mark 82 Snake Eyes, which are on 2 racks in 2 of the center pylons. Just because we can, we're going to select this.
Roger.
We can only have 1 air-to-ground ordnance selected at a time, and so that's got that selected, or we're selecting it now. You can hear him flicking the switches in the background. Our next option is to change the targeting method. In fact, before we go on that, we can see what our current settings are here. This here tells us what bombing mode we're on. Now the F-14 has 5 different bombing modes. If you see my unguided bombs tutorial, we only have access to 2 of those bombing modes, which is computer pilot or CCIP and computer target or CCRP through the Jester menu. Next we've got whether we're dropping singles or pairs, so currently we've got singles selected. Next is our mechanical fusing, we've got nose and tail selected. Next is our step or our ripple selector, and we've currently got step selected. Next is our actual weapon that we have selected, so we've just selected the Mark 82 Air. So next we can toggle between computer pilot mode that we've got selected or our computer target mode that we've got selected by clicking on that there.
Copy.
Back to the menu. So we've now got computer target mode selected. Now if you want to know more about those, please go and watch the detailed video I've done on unguided bombing, and it explains it all there. Next, whether we want singles or whether we want pairs. We've currently got singles, but I want to change that to pairs.
Roger.
Back to the menu, and we can select back to singles here. Next we can select the mechanical fusing, so we're going to click in there. We're currently on nose and tail, so we can have the nose and the tail fuse, or just the nose crush fuse, or we can have it turned to safe. So I'm going to change it just to nose because I can.
Alrighty.
Next I can change the ripple settings here, so if I go into here, so we can have the quantity of snake eyes that are going to be rippled, so we can click in there. And I want to ripple, I've got 8 of them, but I'm just going to ripple 5 here. Oh, I should say, if we don't want to ripple, then we can step instead. Step is the opposite of ripple. Okay, so we're going to do 5.
Roger.
Back to the ripple menu, we can set the ripple timer here. So this is the timer in milliseconds between impulses. In this case, because we're set up for pairs, it is the delay between impulses to each pair of bombs. So 50 milliseconds means 50 milliseconds between each pair of bomb drops.
Roger that.
Back to the ripple menu, we can set the distance between impulse impact points here. So if we can say we want 50 feet between impacts, then we can set that here. Now, we don't have that in the human cockpit. This is something that AI Jester figures out on the fly, which is actually pretty good. So the one advantage this has over using a human Jester. We click on there, and if we want 81 feet here between each impulse impacting, in this case an impulse is a pair of bombs, like that. What that's actually changing is his impulse time in milliseconds. Right, so that's the ripple settings done. So what we've changed is that our targeting system for the pilot is now computer target. We're now dropping in pairs. We're using a nose crush fuse only. We're rippling 5 per stall's weapon release button press. There are 110 milliseconds between each impulse, between each pair, and the weapon we're using is a Mark 82 Air. And like I said, if you want to know all that means properly, go and watch the detailed video I've done, please. It's in the F-14 educational playlist. Next we can select the weapon we've got to jettison. We've currently got the Mark 82 selected, so if we want to jettison them, we can do that.
Roger, okay.
And finally we have the utility here. This can select between our... This does not control the lantern pod. The lantern pod can only be controlled by human Rio in the back. I've got a full video on that in the in the F-14 playlist if you want to see that. All this change is the feed that the pilot will see on his VDI. So if we want to see the TCS on our VDI,
Roger that.
then we go to VDI TV, and you can now see the TVS, you know, the camera on the chin of the aircraft. And if we wanted to set the feed to be the lantern flare, we can click on that again, and you can see we're now seeing the lantern flare. Like I said, Jester can't control that. You have to get a human to control that. Right, so that's all I wanted to go over for the air-to-ground interface with the Jester. I hope that helps, and see you later.